Hey there, Alex here. The Moto X lineup hasn't been updated in a while now, so even with rumors surrounding the new Moto X4, the Moto X Pure Edition is actually still the latest Moto X from Motorola. But after almost 2 years, is it still worth buying one? Let's find out. Despite its age, I actually still think that it has a pretty good looking design, especially compared to all the recent glass and metal phones around. The curved body and the soft touch back cover feels great in the hand. The phone feels solid too with its metal frame. The Motorola dimple is still here, but the only thing that it is lacking would be a fingerprint sensor. On the front, we have a 5.7-inch Quad HD LCD display surrounded by two very loud stereo speakers that will still put newer devices to shame. For the display, it's actually still a really good looking panel, but I would have preferred AMOLED displays like past Moto X just for the Moto Display feature. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a way to quickly check your notifications. It uses sensors to detect movement, so when I wave my hand across the screen or just pull the phone out of my pocket, it lights up automatically, ready for me to take action. It's easily one of my favorite Moto features. There are a bunch of other useful features too, like double twist to launch the camera and double chop to turn on the flashlight. Moto Voice used to be a really unique feature too, allowing the activation of the voice assistant without touching the phone, but these days it's a pretty common feature. The only thing that is still unique is that I can customize the phrase to launch the assistant. Other than that, what we have is a largely stock version of Android, which is something that I do like. The interface feels relatively smooth, but you can definitely see some stutter every now and then. The Moto X Pure Edition was never the most powerful phone to begin with. It packed in a Snapdragon 808 chipset with 3GB of RAM. If you don't use the highest graphics settings, games are definitely still enjoyable on the phone. In general, I would still say it's usable today. Something that hasn't really aged too well would be the 3000 mAh battery. While this is the same capacity as the new HTC U11, it's a totally different generations of phones that we are talking about. The battery life was never amazing to begin with, and after a year of use, it's barely enough to last me a day of normal use. I'll probably have to get a replacement battery soon, and perhaps after the Nougat update is out, I'll do a quick update on that. Camera quality wise, other than the higher 21MP resolution, there isn't really much going on with the camera hardware. I would still say it's a decent camera if you're not too particular about it. The colors looks natural, with the higher resolution providing some nice details. The Auto HDR mode works well enough too. In low light, the camera struggles to get enough light and the lack of optical image stabilization doesn't help. You can get some usable shots out of the camera, but just don't expect too much out of it. Video recording is actually pretty decent with the electronic stabilization doing a great job even while recording 4K. The 5MP front camera comes with a flash, so if you really need to get a selfie in a really dark place, you can do it on this phone, but the image quality is just about average. So in the end, I think it all comes down to price. If it's cheap enough, the Moto X Pure Edition is still a decent option if you don't need the latest and greatest. It has a big screen and great sounding speakers, so the multimedia experience is actually still really great. If you want something a bit faster, the Moto G5 Plus not only performs better, but it also has a better camera, better battery life and a fingerprint sensor. But you're probably going to have to pay a bit more for that since it's still relatively new. Another downside is that under Lenovo, Motorola hasn't really been great at getting their devices updated. At this point in time, it's still running Android Marshmallow with the December 2016 security patch. The Nougat update is still nowhere to be found. So if that's important to you, you might want to look somewhere else. For me personally, I just like that it's one of the last Motorola phones that really calls back to the original Moto X design. One of the last that you could really customize on Moto Maker and make it your own. This was one of my favorite phones from 2015, and you know, I actually still kind of like it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more smartphone reviews. Thanks, and see you guys on the next one.